And if I told you that the most technical and challenging circuit of the Formula One calendar could be the perfect setting for Lewis Hamilton to break the worst streak of his career, driving a Ferrari that, until now, has not up to height? Instead of fighting for victories, the British has been fighting for staying within the top 10. After 14 large awards, he has not yet risen to the podium. A chilling figure for someone who, for more than a decade, was synonymous with consistency, dominance, and excellence. Never before in his career had started a season without at least one podium in the first 5 races. Now it has almost 3 times that number without results that reflect your talent. The internal difference with Charles Leclerc is overwhelming. The Monegasco, with the same SF25, has added 5 podiums. He has been able to extract every gram of car performance, taking advantage of his knowledge of previous years and a driving style more in line with the limitations of the car. Hamilton, on the other hand, has had to reinvent himself. He has been forced to adapt his technique, to study his partner's style, even copying his way of dosing the brake and lifting the accelerator in curve. This adaptation has not been simple. The first emotional blow occurred in Melbourne, after a difficult classification and a difficult career. Zandvoort is not any circuit. It is a track with a soul. A path that defies the purest foundations of piloting in Formula One modern. Each curve, each pair, each change of elevation requires surgical precision, courage, and above all, full confidence between the pilot and his car. And it is precisely why it could be the scenario where Hamilton begins to write a new chapter in its history with Ferrari. Because in a circuit like Zandvoort, the technical limitations of a car can be partly neutralized by the gross talent and the pilot's commitment. It is one of the few places in the calendar where a difficult car can perform beyond its technical file if it is well interpreted. And this is where the SF25 has a chance. Although throughout the season it has been criticized for its instability at high speed and for an extremely narrow tuning window, Ferrari reaches the Netherlands with a technical package that fits, in theory, with the characteristics of the layout. Specifically, the team has developed a hybrid aerodynamic configuration, inspired by what they used in Austria and Hungary. 2 tracks with high dependence on aerodynamic load and where the SF25 managed to show a better behavior in medium-speed curves. This adjusted version of the car prioritizes a refined aerodynamic balance, which allows to generate load not only from the wings, but from the floor of the car, taking advantage of the airflow to stabilize it in the passage through curve. Zandvoort's secret is not peak speed, nor in the acceleration in lines. It is in the fluid transition between curves, in the efficiency with which a car can maintain medium speed without losing traction. Curves such as Hugenholtzbach, the high section of the layout reminiscent of the old circuits of the old European school, can be the ideal land for a car like the Ferrari if it manages to find the right point between chassis stiffness and suspension flexibility. And there enters Ferrari's great bet for this weekend, the new rear suspension. This component, introduced in Belgium, is the result of months of internal work in Maranello and represents one of the most radical changes of the SF25 in 2025. Its design not only seeks to improve traction in the curve output, but also better absorb the irregularities of the asphalt, something crucial in Zandvoort, where the unevenness are constant and the grip changes even within the same curve. The behavior of the car when leaving the Tarzan, for example, could be decisive for overtaking opportunities, and this new suspension gives the pilots an extra tool to maintain the ideal line under pressure. To this is added the strategy learned in Hungary, where the team experimented with higher tires in the final stint, with surprising results. This decision, although conservative at first sight, allowed to maintain the most stable operational temperature and reduce the wear of the compounds in progressive heat conditions. In Zandvoort, where the asphalt tends to overheat quickly and degradation becomes critical in long steins, this type of strategic approach could make a difference between maintaining the position or being devoured by the platoon. In addition, there is an intangible but equally important element: the need for redemption. Ferrari knows that Zandvoort represents a very narrow window to change the course of his season. The car will not be competitive in all the paths, that is clear. But on this specific track, they have the pieces to build something solid. Hamilton knows it too. In a year where opportunities have been scarce, here could have one of the few real occasions to compete for more than minor points. The question is not only if Ferrari will be up to it, but if Hamilton can use his talent and experience to get the maximum of a car that still does not understand. Zandvoort will be more than a race. It will be a technical test, strategic validation, and above all, an emotional pulse for a team that needs to believe again. Here it is not just about speed. It is about perfecting every decision, every return, every curve. Because on such a demanding track, any error is paid expensive. But if everything is aligned, even an injured car like the SF25 can shine. And if that happens, then Ferrari will not only have a promising career, but a real reason to think that the best is yet to come. Zandvoort will not simply be one more race in the calendar. It will be a silent but relentless trial. A sentence about the present of Lewis Hamilton, but also a message about his future. Because after 14 major awards without podiums, in a season marked by technical frustrations, strategic errors, and a performance well below that expected, the margin of tolerance has minimized. The pressure on your shoulders is suffocating. Not only because he is a 7-time world champion, but because there are more and more voices that wonder if he still has emotional gasoline to continue competing to the highest level. Is Hamilton living a transition to withdrawal? Or are we about to witness a historic comeback with which no one had? The answer can begin to be revealed in this layout. And it will not be only for the possibility of adding points or reaching a podium. What will really be at stake is something much deeper. Hamilton's ability to impose his identity on an environment that has so far been hostile. Adapting to Ferrari is not a simple task. It was not for Sebastian Vettel, it was not for Fernando Alonso, much less is now in a context where the technical competence is fierce. The margins are tiny and the internal structure of the team still drags management inconsistencies. But unlike his predecessors, Hamilton is not in the ascending curve of his career. He is struggling to redefine his legacy. And here an element that cannot be measured with data or simulations comes into play: the psychology of the champion. For 2 decades, Hamilton has built his career on an unwavering basis, intuition to the limit and a unique ability to raise his level when the context becomes more adverse. Its history is marked by unexpected turns, for impossible comebacks, to demonstrate again and again that even when it seems to be defeated, it finds the way to be reborn. Zandvoort can become that new turning point, the place where not only achieves a good result, but where he recovers the narrative control of his season, where he ceases to be a victim of the car and begins to be the protagonist of his destiny. Ferrari, meanwhile, also plays a lot. The management of this binomial with Hamilton has been the subject of scrutiny since the first day. If the team manages to offer you a car that responds properly, even in a specific circuit like this, they could deactivate an internal bomb that threatens to explode for weeks. The tension between the unequal performance of its pilots, strategic errors at key moments, and the feeling that they still fail to become a consistent operational structure has generated a background noise that Zandvoort could cushion or amplify. Because if Ferrari fails here, if the technical package does not work, if the strategy is badly calculated, and if Hamilton looks again in the middle of the platoon without tools to respond, then the moral blow will be devastating. Not only for the pilot, but for the entire team. The narrative that this union will be consolidated rather than a synergy has been a poorly executed experiment. And what is worse, you could start talking about premature divorce. On the other hand, if everything fits, if the SF25 finally offers a sustained competitiveness window, if Hamilton drives again as only he knows how to do it, then Zandvoort will no longer be a passage station and will become a symbol. The moment in which it all started to change. The starting point of a comeback that would not only redeem its season, but would revive the flame of its 8th title. It is not just about adding points or podiums. It is about recovering the emotional, strategic, and symbolic control of his career. Therefore, what happens in Zandvoort will not remain in the results table. It will remain in Hamilton's personal history and in the collective memory of a team that has lived between glory and failure for more than a decade. It may be the first step towards a new era, or the last echo of a breach breastfed. And what do you think? Are we witnessing the last real attempt by Lewis Hamilton for recovering the top of motor racing? Or will this year be an unstalled farewell, a slow transition towards the end of an era? Because what is at stake goes beyond a simple race, even beyond a season. This is identity, legacy, redemption. At this time, every return in Zandvoort is loaded with symbolism. Each strategic decision can become a declaration of intentions. And each result, however modest it seems, has the potential to trigger a completely different narrative about the future of one of the greatest names in the history of Formula One. We want to know your opinion. Do you think Ferrari will finally find the perfect tune with Hamilton in Zandvoort? Or will it be another lost opportunity in a season that has so far been marked by disappointment? Can the experience, talent, and intuition of a 7-time champion be enough to overcome the limitations of a complicated car and internal pressure of a historically volatile equipment? Comment with your analysis or your prediction. Do you expect a resurrection, or do you see an inevitable sunset? What technical or strategic changes do you think could make a difference for Hamilton in this circuit? And how do you think the team will react if the results do not appear? Of his most human act, or the most heroic?